Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And you're very welcome along to this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. It's Ger and Johnny with you all the way through until 4 o'clock today. We stream live every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock across Off the Ball social channels. That's twitter.com/Off the Ball, youtube.com/Off the Ball, or of course every Friday evening from 8. It's Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball on News Talk. It's all brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. You can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. There's 4 weeks to go to Cheltenham.
It's mad, isn't it? Just comes around like that, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. I saw Paul Nicholls during the week. I don't know if we were talking to the race reporter who he was talking to, saying, yeah, I'm kind of saving horses for Aintree. What's the point taking on the Irish with some of these horses?
Did he say that?
Yep.
All right.
In other words,
is he rope it up in there though? That's what he's like. He's thinking.
No.
I've heard Johnny week in week out telling me I'm going to get crushed. Hi, Paul. And I've decided.
We had Megan on the show. I don't think we've had Paul.
I'm going to play into that, and then I'm going to unleash them. When the declarations come, they'll all be shocked.
No, he might run horses maybe in some of the smaller field novice races perhaps, but I think the Handicaps going to be interesting this year because the battering that the British got in the Handicaps forced them to revise the way that they do the Handicap system, and it is intriguing because if you look at the race in I think it's Kelso today, the average field size is so small. And then there's this notion of Irish handicappers coming over to Cheltenham and having effectively been like spared or laid out for Cheltenham, which really isn't the case. So it's just Irish handicaps are so competitive that if you come from that system in Ireland and you're given a mark in Britain, you're probably still just running in far better races than the British equivalent. And the British horses are not running in races with that depth. So then the Irish horses come over and they've all these novices that are winning handicaps. And Paul Nicholls is probably thinking, well, and this is often the case, if you prepare a horse for Cheltenham, he or she is often over the top by Aintree, and Irish horses don't really target Cheltenham in the same way, Aintree in the same way. So he's thinking, was it Donald McCain as well was chiming in on it?
Big prizes at Aintree.
Donald McCain was like, it's better prize money, better racing and better crack. Now, Donald McCain's dad would obviously have a great affinity with Aintree, but to have Paul Nicholls basically say, I'm not bothered about Cheltenham. What's the point taking on the Irish? Well, I'm paraphrasing. That's
a bit of a paraphrase.
That's more or less what he said.
A bit of a paraphrase.
Why basically shoot your bolt in Cheltenham when we can spare them for Aintree? What's the point taking on the Irish with certain horses? Is basically what he said, and that's where we're at. Now, maybe next month you were trying to suggest that the British will win plenty of races. Interestingly enough, the British will probably have the favourite in the Supreme and the Arkle on day one, the two novice races, which will be fascinating, and they may win both, although we'll see.
Okay. I mean, my take on that novices thing is that the cycle is coming back, and that they won't be the only novice winners that they have over the next couple of years, and that those novices progress, they'll start winning more races, and that the cycle is just that it's turning. But your view is that the power base has shifted, the seesaw has toppled, and it's...
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll say, to borrow like...
it's the broad sunlit uplands of Ireland dominating forever is what we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a boom.
And I don't think necessarily Irish racing wants that either. I think parity would be better because...
A little bit of a boom.
The 23.5 Gers is roughly the equivalent...
Can we not have a couple of years of it? Enjoy it, and then worry about the future afterwards.
Well, I'd say that when will Britain have more winners than Ireland next to Cheltenham?
I don't know.
Unless they make it a 5-day meeting in which only British horses can run 2 of the days. It shouldn't be like that though, Ger. It should not. But then it means that British racing is systematically sick, because it should not be the case that Irish racing, and like if you're to make it into a football analogy, say like Udinese, say the English clubs for years and years and years snapped up the Irish talent at a very young age. That's kind of what's happening now, except the Irish owners and English owners in some instances are buying the Pointtopoint horses, and they're staying with Gordon Elliott or say Henry de Bromhead or to an extent Willie Mullins. But like I was speaking for the Irish Racing Annual to Ollie Murphy, and he was just saying it's really, really hard to get an owner to buy that 300 grand horse before he's hit the track. And if you bring him to Britain, he'll be running straight away for race prize money that will barely get you through a month's training fees if you win. So it's not economical, and British racing is in a state of crisis for sure.
I don't deny that, right? But I don't. I think we should enjoy the fruits of it for a little while and then start
Fruits
helping
of
them.
what, though?
The success
Of Irish racing?
Yeah.
Well, help them is... we can't help them. They have to get their prize money right at the very least, and deal with the situation where there's a lot of scrutiny in horse racing in Britain, and it was beautifully put, I thought, by our old stablemate Ken Early during the week, who was on about all this furore about the cat incident by Zuma, considering, and it's the same when something happens in racing. And we've had this with the trainer and the stick the other day, when the meat industry is basically the cornerstone of the how we eat, but we don't really worry about the chicken fiddle roll, and we look at the cat and the horse getting, hit by a branch. There's a strange attitude to animals in Britain, and racing's in an insecure place where it's constantly trying to say we're good, we look after our animals, and they're very afraid of animal welfare lobby, and it's in a very tricky place, and it's not properly funded at all.
If anybody wants to get involved in this conversation, you can leave a comment on the YouTube stream, or of course you can always tweet us at Off The Ball. But let's get to our guest this week, who knows a thing or two about point to point. It's sure Liz Lalor is with us. Liz, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Hi, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, we're very good. Congratulations. You've set a record as the winningest woman of all time when it comes to point.
Yeah, I got there at last, thank God. No, it's brilliant.
How long has that been a target for you specifically?
I only found out about it not long, I'd say, before I got to the 100, or just after I got to the 100. I think it was just before it. And so then I said I'd try and give it a go if possible at all.
Helen Bryce-Smyth had the record of 109 winners before you got your 110th winner, which I think was just last Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
How long were you waiting for the 109th to equal it, and how long were you waiting for the 110th?
I got 109 back in, I think it was November or December. November, I think. I'd only ridden one or two horses between this and then, because I had a daughter there 3 years ago, so I'm kind of picking and choosing what I ride since then. So I'm not riding that much. So it took a little bit longer to get, but no, delighted to get there eventually anyway.
Fair enough. That's, prioritising. And does that mean when you get to prioritise, you're like, I'm only picking good horses now, I'm not going to ride any old nonsense?
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. No, that's what I'm trying to do. Just better maidens if possible, and open lightweight horses. Just trying to reduce the risk, if at all possible anyway.
What's your daughter's name?
Alex.
And when Alex was born 3 years ago, was it?
Yeah.
And how long after that did you ride your first winner?
5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Yeah.
I think I've never given birth, probably never will, but I certainly won't be giving birth and riding a winner within 5 weeks. Absolutely amazing.
No, it was brilliant, because I was normally Nina Pointtopoint would be the end of January, and it was actually put back to about the 20th of February, and so that's why I managed to make it, because she was born the 10th of January. So it allowed me that couple of weeks extra. So
you'd probably have chanced it anyway, would you?
I would have tried, but I mightn't have gotten there. But I was back running or jogging anyway to try and make sure I was fit enough anyway.
Do you think that was a record in itself, or did one of the pioneers in the lady point-to-point scene, a woman rider before you, might have done something similar? I doubt it.
I don't know. I think Carrie Ford ride not long after having one as well. I don't actually know, but I think there was something about that. Now I don't know how long.
Just on that issue, because we saw Katie Walsh retiring and Nina retiring, and Nina before she became a kind of a dancing celebrity and all that. But what's that like for a female jockey? In that, it's something that may well come up probably in your, if not like your late 20s, your 30s at some stage, and I guess it's part of all of your considerations if you want to. I guess like Rachel's gone pro, but most of you are obviously amateur.
Yeah. I suppose everyone to their own. No, I'd say a lot of girls will probably follow Rachel now in turning pro if they're good enough, and that most people would have retired by the time they get to my age. Do you think
they will follow Rachel? Yeah,
I'd say so if they're good enough. because Rachel has been brilliant. Everybody idolises her now. You'd actually see, I've seen more girls riding this year now than, like, starting off this year than I've seen in the last couple of years. So I think that's probably due to Rachel.
I do, like, I'd say we still haven't actually come to any sort of a conclusion in terms of the weight or the value you'd put on what she's done for racing, like, and that's just racing, but, like, what would be the perspective as a female rider? Because you're in the female changing room, I guess you talk about this, but you see these young kids as well coming through that obviously want to emulate her.
Sure. That's all any young girl is talking about now. It's all Rachel this and Rachel that. That's who they want to emulate, and she's brilliant, and I don't know what else to say.
Although this show is obviously about you today. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, look, take us back. It's 21 years since you, I think it's more than that at this stage, since you had your first winner. Was it 1999?
Yeah, guesswork down in Kinsale.
Right. So that's a long time. How before we talk about your own career, how has the sport and how has point-to-pointing changed since then?
It's changed big time. It's gotten so much more professional now. It's more of a business now than a sport. Like, a lot of the smaller people are gone out of it now. You know, the old farmer there with one horse, and he'd ride it out himself and everything, bring it on to the point-to-point, and it mightn't the school that much at all. Everything is done, like, on the track now. It has to be so professional now if you have any chance of doing any good.
Is that, like, I mean, that's been a massive story, I think, in the last 10 or 15 years, where, you know, I just find it amazing that it's easier to sell a winner of a 4-year-old maiden than a maiden hurdle now. Far, far easier. And, like, in fact, you know, the 4-year-old maiden winner, you could easily, he'd be past the line, he's already bought, and you're talking 400 grand. But is it a sad thing that that's kind of grassroots element is kind of gone as well, is that it's not what it was, I suppose, when you started?
Yeah. It is, because it's ruled out a lot of people. I'd say the smaller people. I'd imagine. Well, that's what I think anyway. Like, it seems to be kind of the same people now the whole time. And that's, like, there's.
Oh, the line has just dropped to Liz there. We'll get her mobile back. But that transformation of the point-to-point scene, it's because of the quality of the horses that the owners can find there, and how so many of, was it the Gold Cup winners, like, with a long streak of them all being point-to-point veterans from Ireland? Yeah,
and it's entirely down to money, and that's kind of not what point-to-pointing was forever more really about. It was, as Liz says, I've been to a couple of point-to-points in Killa and Durrow, and I have to say I had a great experience of it. Like, Killa was, I think there were 18 bookmakers there, no Betfair, none of this nonsense. So you basically, like, you know, the betting ring was vibrant. You didn't really know much about the horses apart from whispers. It was basically a throwback. There was fundraiser for the local camogie club, I think. There were kids just rolling around in the grass. It was just really nice experience, and I think the big race was won by, maybe one of the Hennessy's might have won it, who'd be involved in the point-to-point with a horse. I actually think went to the track afterwards, but there were some good horses running, and there was a lovely family experience to it now. But basically now what it is that, you know, these particularly good yards, they train horses to win point-to-points and effectively be sold for 300 or 400 grand, and there's massive money in it. And
I can see why
but that's not what it was. So it's kind of like national hunt racing itself is in danger of slightly losing its soul because it's been dominated by so few people. But you don't really want the point-to-points to become that, but in many ways that's what it has become. Your experience
of the actual day itself didn't tally with what was happening on the track. It was still a community driven.
Yeah, although to be honest, since Injure, it's probably even, like, I was in the race from Post, so that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I remember my starting line was like, Joyce said the only decent people you'll see at race courses are the horses, and that was, you know, a famous line by him. But I was like, he's obviously never been to Killa point-to-point, because I just such a great experience there that day, and it was really like the old days going racing. There was one good horse I think that won that day. But generally it was kind of a mixture of like the one or two really good young races and sort of the farmers race and all that. But Liz would obviously know far more about it than me, but I think it has gone more to that really, really professional shop window now.
Yeah, Liz is back with us. It's just that transformation, which is, I'm kind of making the point, Liz, that it's a bit natural when there is such great prizes on offer. And I don't mean to prize money, but just as Johnny was talking there, you can sell a horse for really big money if they're successful at an Irish point-to-point.
Yeah, no, they're making big money, the good horses. That's why I don't think the smaller lads can kind of compete, really.
What would you like? It's not obviously going to change, Liz, is it? Because, like, as I said, I find it staggering that, like, essentially, not even point to point. If you win a point to point now, you'll have a better chance of making good money than if you win a bumper by 20 lengths.
Yeah, no, it's they make unreal money. So they do. No, they're held in very high regard, the point to point, and rightly so. But like, it's hard for the smaller lad to compete then. Yeah,
of course. Let's talk to us a little bit about your family and your background in it. Your family, I think, are national hunt breeders.
Yeah, Dad, Mum and Dad have been breeding horses. The original Carrigain Shara, and then all the Carrigain prefix ones all come from that. And then Red Manila, Indo, and Benassar, and Chicago Grey, and a couple more over the last few years that have gone on to do great things.
Manila Indo was out of who?
Manila Indo was out of Carrigain.
Lily?
Was it? Sorry.
Now, I think you can be exonerated like John Allen for all these Manilas, but the Carrigain, so that Carrigain, what relation was she then to the original, I suppose, the grand dam of all the operation?
Yeah, the Carrigain Shara would have been the grand dam of all these. Manila Indo would be out of Carrigain Shara.
So the Manila Indo story, then, he obviously won the Gold Cup last year, and he won the Gold Cup for Henry de Bromhead and Jack Kennedy and all that. People see that, that's all well and good, but like the great thing about horses is they've a million other stories that people don't know about. So what was the story behind his upbringing, and how did he come about?
We sold him as a foal to John Allen. I think here in the yard. I think John came over here, because John wouldn't be too far from us here at home. He came over and bought him here at home. And that was it. So John buys a lot of foals and then point them. And he always liked him as a young horse, because you'd meet him at the points and that. And he was saying he liked him. He was hardy, but he liked him. He was tough. Babies
can be beautiful. I think every parent would agree. Anyway, but can you see in a foal, oh, this horse could be a World Cup winner? Or can you see in a foal, yeah, there's something about him, he might be all right?
I don't know about that now. You can see if they use themselves nicely and stuff. But sure, if you could see that, it'd be a very easy game.
Yeah, John saw something anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's absolutely flying this year. So he is with all his horses. And getting a right
promotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, when you're growing up in a house that's breeding some of the best and most interesting national hunt horses that there are, is it obvious to you that you're going to be a point-to-point jockey? Like, is that and get involved in the industry for the rest of your life? Are you ever making sideways looks, going, I wonder what civilian life is like?
No, I think they tried to get me to take a sideways look and do something else, but I was always fairly headstrong and wanted to do racing and that, and so I left. Well, I was kicking up in school, and eventually Mum let me leave on condition I went to college, which was Kildalton, doing a horse course down there. But Kildalton was only just down the road from Joe Crowley's, and college got on to Mum and Dad then and said, look, Liz is never here. I was up in Joe Crowley's the whole time, so then they just said, here, do what you want.
Well, technically you actually did fulfil your side of the bargain. Like, you did go to college, just you didn't go very often.
No, exactly. No, he says it.
Beautiful.
No. No, it was great. I go up to Joe's he'd say, was I only there for one lot? And I said, no, I could stay for a few more. And he was like, do you not have to be in college? I was like, no, not this morning. He was like, Jesus, it's a great college you're in. Knowing full well that I should have been there, really.
Well, you were in the college of the Joe Crowley College, which was, I'm sure, wasn't bad for education as well.
Exactly. I probably learnt a lot more there.
When you think about that as well, and like, you know, Joe and then Aidan and then Joseph reviving Joe's old place and owning as well, like, you weren't in bad hands.
No, exactly. No, geez. They were good. No, they were brilliant. Actually, Joe was brilliant, and Sir Francis was there at the time, and Angela, and a lot of them, and Kevin was there, Kevin Ryan riding out and stuff. So there was a lot of good people there at the time.
And so, are you going to be a breeder? Is that what your plans are?
I don't know. No, I don't know what I'm doing. At the moment, they're at that here at home. We've about 10 or 12 brood mares. They're trying to build that up to be the stronger part of it. Trying to build numbers up of that. But that's more the brothers more interested in that. He loves that buying and selling and sales and everything. I like the training and the riding out and all that kind of part of it.
Sounds like the two of you could be a team, yes?
Yeah, exactly. We work well together.
You wouldn't mind training then?
No, I have a trainer's license, and I'm going taking over from Dad now this year.
Lovely. As
well, there in the next week or two. So I should have a few. So hopefully tip away at that. I've had a double as a trainer already in Clonmel there a few years ago. I wouldn't have that many, but it's not been too bad so far now.
You sound. I don't know you that well now, but you strike me as somebody who wouldn't take much shit from owners as well. You tell them, listen, this is how it is.
Well, I don't know.
That's not a good sales pitch, Johnny.
It absolutely is. I mean, if you've trainers that basically bluff their way through, as Paddy Cork.
Do owners not want their bellies tickled, really?
Nah, I don't know, Liz. How would you deal with them?
Well, I suppose different owners are different. Some people prefer to be told how it is straight up and no flowering it up or whatever. Then more people just hate the truth. And I don't know. If I was an owner now, I'd prefer straight up and to know what the story was straight away, as opposed to getting carried along there.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
To go back to the riding, having hit this landmark number of 110, and listening to you earlier on talking about being a bit more picky and picking the lighter horses, does that suggest that at some point you see an end to that? That like there was a mission here, that mission is accomplished?
Yeah, I won't renew my license this year now. I'll just keep tipping away until that's up.
How many more rides then?
Pardon?
How many more rides do you think you'll have?
I don't know. That doesn't get renewed until the end of the summer, so I'll keep tipping away till the end of the Pointtopoint season. So I don't know, and on the track, I'll tip away with our own ones there until then.
Will your last one be a winner?
It'd be nice.
You could be like Ruby, just nobody'd know, and then just kind of wave as you cross the line and tell everyone afterwards, yeah, that was me, I'm done.
She's just told everybody on Friday Night Racing, though.
Maybe she'll retire in May rather than June. Or
Perhaps. My Racing Moment is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. Our guest this week is Liz Lalor. Liz, can we take us back to the 110th winner, will you? Because like we're interested in the specifics of the actual day itself. Did you obviously you've talked about picking horses that you wanted to have a chance to win on. When did you get confident that you were actually going to win that race?
He was travelling real well the whole way. He was great, and jumping the third last, like I was in front, and he felt strong underneath me, but I still wasn't confident until I crossed the line. But I was just hopeful. Anyway, but no, he did it well in the end.
The horse was ready to return, is that right?
Yeah,
And so it's trained by your partner, Tom Keating. Tell me, like, is it emotional because you have been chasing it, and there's a picture of you with the 110, and you're getting a champagne hamper. Like, everybody made a big deal out of it. So from your own perspective, having been chasing this and been aware of it at least for the last 2 or 3 years, is it an emotional moment?
It was relief, more like it. It was relief, but it was brilliant. And the minute I crossed the line, I could hear them on the commentator or over the loudspeaker talking about it and that. And Frankie Ward is brilliant, and she was the one that organised everything, like, to be such a big deal. She made the sign, the 110, and was behind her and Aileen Pearce. Were behind the hamper and everything else. So no, it was absolutely brilliant. No, they made a big thing of it, because they were bringing them round to Pointtopoint for the last, any time I was riding or any time they thought I might be riding, they were bringing them along to the Pointtopoint, hoping today was going to be the day. So I'm glad I eventually did it for them.
Well, that's great. And sometimes in sport, particularly in Irish sport, we're a little bit behind. You know, if this was America, everybody would stop and go, "Oh, this is amazing! It's incredible." We're like, well, you know, it's not bad, I suppose, but it's amazing. Like, it is. It's genuinely a landmark moment for you as a trailblazer, and standing on the shoulders of giants, and it happening at the same time as what we were talking about earlier on with Rachel as well. Like, you seem relatively humble when it comes to this kind of thing, but I suspect that at various stages you have looked back and gone, well, that's not bad.
Yeah, I was saying to one of the girls the other day, if it was somebody else had done it, I'd be like, oh wow, that's amazing. But because I've done it, it's like, that's great. It's grand. I was just delighted to get another winner the other day, you know, that kind of way. It kind of probably hasn't even really sunk in yet, the extent of what I've done. So no, because when I started, all I wanted to do was ride a Pointtopoint winner, and then I rode a few winners or whatever, and Liz Doyle was there, and Liz Doyle was champion lady the whole time, and all I wanted to do was win that one time, and I ended up getting that 8 times, thank God. So no, it was brilliant.
What winner would have given you the most of a kick in your career?
What, on Pointtopoint or
either or?
I suppose on the track anyway was Carrigan Calmia in Leopardstown. The Conor Clarkson was grade 2, just beaten in the high grass by half a length or something like that. That was great, because that was my biggest kind of ride and biggest winner in big place, Leopardstown. So that meant a lot.
I'm sure it did. What is the actual difference in terms of? I guess the action is exactly the same. You're riding a horse, and you're riding a horse as fast as you can to beat other horses. But the difference between Leopardstown and some of the smaller point-to-point venues, like, obviously there's an intimacy around the point-to-point venues, and you were talking earlier on about some horses not even. The line is gone again. There you go. I was actually asking a good question for a change.
It took you 28 minutes?
For what? To ask a good question?
Yeah.
Well, some would say it's taken 44 years, Johnny, but...
Some. Many. I wonder, would she have aspirations for Alex in terms of her... I think Alex is a great name for a kid, by the way. So obviously you can... Boy or girl, really cool name. Will Alex become... Here's one for you. Will Alex... Yeah, Alex could be riding at a time when she'll be on the race card. I'm not saying she'll be jockey at all, but if she were, it'll be just Alex, whatever. I don't know if Liz is going with Keating or Lawler Keating, whatever. Alex Lawler Keating, Alex Keating, blah, blah, blah. And you want to know if it's a boy or girl? There we go.
Well, there you go. There's a significant advantage to that. Various different reasons. Liz is back if you want to ask.
Alex, if Alex were to become a rider, Liz, not sure, what would the surname be? And if she did, would she be on the race card just as Alex something, Alex Keating, Lawler, Alex Lawler? But there'd be no Mr. or Mrs. It'd be just like, or Ms. or whatever. It'd be just Alex.
I don't know. Yeah, Alex Keating anyway.
Okay. Could she be the Rachel Blackmore of her day?
Do you want her to be a jockey?
I don't know. She's not showing a whole pile of interest at the minute. She might in time, but I'm not going to force her either. She can do what she likes.
Well, sorry, I think at 3 years of age, she's made her mind up on life at this stage. There's no going back, But in fairness, you do hear of a lot of kids that did have actually, they had no interest till they were maybe 12, 13, 14, and then it just changed their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't know. She loves being outside the whole time and loves being around the horses. Just hasn't much interest in sitting up and riding yet. I have a pony out in the field for her, and she hasn't shown a whole pile of interest in it yet, but sure, there's plenty of time yet.
You're just racing people are an entirely different breed. She's 3 years of age, and you're already thinking, I don't know, she's not mad to jump a fence yet.
Hasn't got the bottle yet.
Yeah.
Still on the bottle, hasn't got it yet.
I'm going to look out for Alex Heathing's name in the future. I'm going to make a prediction that she's going to be a jockey, and hopefully, she'd never know, Liz.
No, well, she's very strong-willed anyway. So
look.
Takes after the mother.
Yeah. I know I'd say she'll be good at whatever she does anyway.
Well, I wish you the very best with the strong-willed 3-year-old, because there's nothing worse in the world than a strong-willed 3-year-old who won't do what they're asked or eat their dinner. My last question was really about the difference between winning in Leopardstown and winning in a small, intimate point-to-point. It's the same. You've got to do the same thing. Your mindset has to be exactly the same, but they're on the face of it, they seem worlds apart. Are they different experiences?
Winning is brilliant wherever it is, but I suppose because it's up there and you're against the big boys, it's probably a little bit more prestigious and probably, there's more pressure on you or more pressure on yourself being up there in front of everybody and that. But winner's a winner.
Well, you've 110 of them. Congratulations, Liz. Great to have you with us today. Thanks a million for making the time to talk to us.
You're brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz.
Liz Lalor there. My Racing Moment is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. Follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. We'll take a quick break.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
You're very welcome back to Friday Night Racing. It's Ger and Johnny with you. We'd love to hear from you this evening. You can leave a comment on the YouTube stream, or of course you can text us if you're listening to Newstalk 53106, or you can also get us at Off the Ball on Twitter. I have a couple of things to do. You can tell us about the weekend's racing in the meantime. Fakir Didaris in Ascot.
Yeah, if you're mentioning it as one of these sore points.
Well, I've just been backing Fakir Didaris for a while. I've never actually managed to correctly align myself with the times when...
There are a lot of horses like that, and one of them is running tomorrow. I mean, Melon has, if you took out a beginner's chase and a maiden hurdle, which is kind of obligatory for a horse like Melon, he's won one race for Willie Mullins, which is so insane for the horse that's run so well in Supremes, Champion Hurdles. Do you remember who beat him in the Supreme? It was the horse that... I've never seen a horse who was 25-1 that 50% of the crowd seemed to have backed. Do you remember a slightly controversial horse who liked to not jump off at times?
Oh, yeah.
Lebeik,
yes.
So he was second to Lebeik. I'm pretty sure I backed Melon that day. He was a talking horse, and he was probably following, not that far off, Duvan and Min in the Supreme at that time. And Melon was that year's Duvan or Min or whatever. And unfortunately for a load of people who backed him, but fortunately for the load of people who backed Lebeik, despite the fact he was 25-1, Lebeik jumped off that day and won and left Melon for dead. But it was still a great performance by Melon. But he's literally won one race since. Which is... Actually, hang on. Yeah, he's won one race, I think, since.
And so, how easy or otherwise is it for a horse like Melon to come back? Or is that just a very high standard that got you not quite living up to the hype and the billing? And so, we had high expectations. The horse is unaware of them. And so, therefore...
Yeah. He's run extremely well in, Irish Gold Cups and all that. And I suppose maybe his unluckiest moment at Cheltenham, give or take, was when he was second to Sam Crow, which was one of the most bizarre races I've ever watched anywhere, because it was the Thursday of Cheltenham, and it was just that controversial Cheltenham was there was just such a change in the atmosphere. But there was a long Stewards Inquiry, there was a long photo finish, and it looked really, really close. I remember I was watching the race close to Eddie O'Leary in the parade ring or whatever, and he was kind of more confident than I was. I think I tipped Samcro or whatever, but I thought he was beaten. Melon was beaten that day, but he's won his beginner's chase, and that's it since. He'd won his beginner's chase. He hasn't won a race since. But this is a long story short of telling that he should win at Gowran tomorrow. If he doesn't win tomorrow, I'm not sure he'll ever win again because he's no excuses.
Right, okay, so high stakes.
High stakes.
Metaphorically.
Well, he's getting weight off horses that you couldn't trust, and he's odds. I think he'll be odds against. And Patrick Mullen says it's his ideal trip, which it probably is, give or take 2.5 miles. He should win, simple as. Although I don't think he's won in. I think he's won once since November 2017, and his last win was nearly 1,000 days ago.
All right,
but does winning matter when your form is that much ahead? I don't think it does.
Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie. You can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing. The hashtag is every racing moment. With Cheltenham and its 7 bonus races still to come, the tote 10 to follow is a long way from over. As of now, Johnny remains in the top spot, followed by Danny Mullins in second. I'm third of 3. I've got 264 points. Danny Mullins 310. Johnny Ward on 371. It's not bad. Saturday's Red Mills Day at Gowran Park promises to see a big crowd at the Kilkenny track, with Tote, the proud sponsor of the Tote Jackpot is Back handicap hurdle, which is race 3 on the day's cards. Anything else you're looking at for Gowran?
Yeah, that race, the 2 Red Mills races, obviously, like, I don't think there's a future star in either of them. I remember Hardy Eustace winning the hurdle race en route to win at Cheltenham. I don't think there'll be champion hurdle winner coming out of that race, albeit Calixios won at Cheltenham last year. I think Durasso should have his measure. I recall tipping this horse up to win some race at Cheltenham after he won this particular race before. He was a bit disappointing, give or take, but he's actually a very dependable horse. Rewarded his backers at a very good price the last day when there was an Elliott hot pot in behind. He should take a lot of beating. The horse I'm looking for, Durasso, in the Red Mills Trial Hurdle. The horse, I actually really like the card at Gowran tomorrow. The horse I'm looking forward to most is Carrickmorna Pine. And I was thinking there are a lot of Carrickmorna prefixes as well, and I was almost mixing it up with the Carrigain that Liz was on about, and then she brought the Manella into it as well. So you get all these names that are basically a second name after a first, but the Carrickmornas will be well known to racecourse. Carrickmorna Pine in the second last, I think, is a massive chance for Robert Tyner. All
right, first race at Gowran tomorrow goes to post at 1:45. The Ascot race, I actually don't have the time for that, but it is Fakir Didari's in the it's Grade 1 Betfair Ascot Chase on Saturday. He'd be the second only Irish trained winner of the race after Edward O'Grady's. Do you know the name? 1996.
Before my time.
Sound Man.
I remember the name of the horse, yeah. I thought Edward was a brilliant guest, actually. Talking about, again, it was Gowran related because around the Thyeste's time, but should give a mention to Eddie Scally, who'd be I wouldn't say a friend of mine now, but I'd be an acquaintance of his at various things from time to time, including actually a Reading versus Leeds game during Cheltenham.
Oh yeah,
when the so-called Majewski 5 went to Reading to watch Leeds win 3-0. I actually don't think they got promoted that season. I think they got promoted the following season, but they were amazing to watch. Eddie's also was involved with that Lone Town, has dipped his hand in hurling management, despite the fact he's from the Midlands. Apparently he's very adept at that as well. He's a very good racecourse manager. Is he worried about Leeds at the moment? Because they are not going particularly well.
They're going to be fine.
They will be fine?
They were fine. They were fine against Villa. I think last week was a blip. And good opportunity against Manchester United to ride the track this weekend. So Navan on Sunday, lots of familiar names. Darver Star is out.
Yeah, and
Bet Victor Boyne Hurdle.
The Boyne Hurdle, obviously a race that has had some very good winners down the year as well. Darver Star has been interesting because he looked like he was going to become a very good novice chaser. Didn't quite work out like that for him, so he's kind of gone back hurdling for his local yard in Gavin Cromwell, who has a couple of interesting runners over the weekend as well. I think we're lucky in the sense that it looks like Dundalk's call off today, but it looks like we're okay for sort of the other races. Durasso is obviously double declared as well, which is interesting. I doubt that he'll be turning up again on the day, but early doors in the race, Longhouse Poet, obviously, who landed a gamble in the Thyestes. It's a fascinating race. I wonder what Longhouse Poet's plan is the fact that he's going back over hurdles. And
This is Navan on Sunday again.
Navan on Sunday. And we also have the 10 up novice chase, sponsored by Bet Victor. Jigginstown strongly represented there with 3 in the race, and Brayside as well, which looks with 4 in the race. One Wild Fred, possibly the horse to beat there. He has very good course form. Obviously, have him on the Troytown in good style. All
right, Friday night racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie. And if you're going to Navan on Sunday or Gowran on Saturday, make sure you check out the website in advance for all your information. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it. As you say, counting down to Cheltenham, and it's fantastic that crowds are back. Masks are coming off. I think we're finally coming around the right side 2 years later, and racing will be all the better for it. And might be some clues this weekend. Hopefully, Carrickmore and the Pine wins anyway for the Tyners.
All right, that's this week's Friday Night Racing. See you next week.
Friday Night Racing
On Off the Ball.
brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.